My name is Caroline Walwyn, and I was involved with the Black Theatre Workshop from 1975 to 1987. I first became associated with Black Theatre Workshop through Clarence Bain, who I met at Concordia University where I was working. I was the secretary in the finance department, and he was a lecturer in the Department of Quantitative Methods in the business school. And he recruited me and said, "Would you like to come and work for the Black Theatre Workshop as assistant to the director of our upcoming play, Son of a Bitch?" And I said, okay, because I love theatre, and that's how it all began. And I ended up being the assistant to the director for that production. Then I went on to become the treasurer on the board and sometimes the secretary. And then I got involved and became production manager, business manager, sometimes publicist, and then I also acted. I had no theatre training. I had not been to a theatre class. And the first production that I was in was Hey You Lightman, where I played a principal role of Lula Roca. And it was directed by Terry Donald, and it was my most terrifying moment in the theatre. One of the actors was violently sick off stage, and I was waiting for her to come on, and I kept sending her the cue to come on and the lines, and she wouldn't appear. And of course I was totally inexperienced at this, so I just ad-libbed for about 5 minutes and started to bring lines in that I had from like Act 3 instead of Act 2, and create a whole scenario. And then finally I sort of looked at the audience and said, I better go and find her, or something like that, and off I went. And then there was a scuffle backstage, a real kerfuffle, and Terry Donald had zipped around, of course, to the back to find out what was going on, and he had to then go on stage and say to the audience, I'm afraid one of our actors has become sick and is unable to continue with the production. Please come back tomorrow night or everything will be fine. And I thought, I will never go on stage again. But I did. Well, my earliest memories was the fact that we had an organization that was hoping to become an organization. It was the seeds of it were there, and it was all volunteer. People who came to and did the job because of their love of theatre. And I think it was interesting because we all pulled together in a way that was quite remarkable. Because at first, you start a production and everybody's a little bit sort of easygoing, and then you realize this is actually going to be live in front of people, and you've got to pull your socks up, sort of thing. And we had fantastic directors. Terry Donald was someone I remember most of all because he directed me in plays, and also if I wasn't actually acting in one of his plays, I actually was the production manager for him. So we had a very close relationship in that sense. And of course Clary Bain and Winston Sutton, also because he was an actor. And these are the people that, being professional as they are, really imparted to me a great knowledge of theatre. And I learned a lot. I think that's the thing. I actually learned an awful lot by just doing it. And it was fantastic. But the earliest memories of some of the things that we did, like, the props, we never had any budget for props. It was like $0 or $100. And the set designer would, he'd want to do this fancy set, and we'd just say, no, it's got to be like $400. And it was tricky, it was challenging, but we always came good, actually. We always came good. And of course, we've gone on, obviously, after 45 years to really become a fantastic theatre company. Yeah. The individuals I worked with that I remember mostly were my co-actors like Jackie Webb. Jackie and I formed a very strong lifetime friendship through working in the Black Theatre Workshop, whether it be on stage, like I acted with her in Gingerbread Lady, or it was being the production manager or business manager. And I acted with her in Nevis Mountain Dew. So she would come to my apartment in Montreal after work, and I would meet her there, and we'd cook before we came to Nevis Mountain Dew performance, and that was special. That was very special. And I also remember Terry Donald, of course, as a fabulous director and person. And Clary. I used to have long conversations with Clary. Clary would get on the phone with me for like 6 hours. I would then put the phone down and say, I really have to go, Clary. And the next morning, on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, the phone would ring at 7 o'clock. You know, and it would be him again. And I would say, oh no, Clary, what do you want now? But all we talked about was theatre. So it was just, though I remember, you know, he is the Black Theatre Workshop. You know, he embodies everything about it. You know, it was just, I remember him a lot. And of course, I remember Winston, acting with Winston and, you know, being directed by Winston in Smile Orange. I remember, you know, our Lenny De Silva building the sets and always wanting more money, and I was never able to give it to him. And all the actors of that era in the 70s and 80s, that was the era I was part of the workshop. So it was great. Well, I have a friend who says he will always remember me calling him at about midnight, saying, I want a bed, bring me your bed. And this was me being, I guess quite stressed, because dress rehearsal was the following day at Centaur, and we still didn't have a bed, and I think it was for Prodigals, and I actually was acting in Prodigals, and I thought, I need this bed. You know, I don't know why we haven't got a bed yet from the props people. And they said, bed is coming, but I thought I better get the bed just in case it doesn't arrive. That I always remember calling a friend at 11:15 at midnight, but I always remember calling many friends saying, have they got a side table? Have they got a lamp? What colour? And scouring my own apartment and getting the props and lading them up in a car and bringing them down to the theatre.